So I will tell you, there's an article on Pro Football Focus. I'm a big Pro Football Focus fan. I mean, again, I don't think that everything that they have out there is gospel, but again, they're just not some jabroni organization, right? I mean, they're just not some ham and eggers that just kind of, do fluff stuff and things like that, and they have their guys that they really like, right? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they have their players on teams that they hype them up and maybe make them out to be a little bit more than even what they are at times. Okay. Now, here's a perfect example. So Pro Football Focus has every NFL team's top 3 players entering the 2023 season. Now, here's the Falcons list: Chris Lindstrom, Jake Matthews, and Kyle Pitts. Here's their write-up before I get into commentary on this. Quote, the Falcons' influx of talent this offseason made this exercise a pleasant surprise for them. Lindstrom has to be on the list. He was the highest graded guard in football last year, an astounding 95.0 mark with a 24.9% impact run block percentage. Matthews wasn't the next highest graded player, but entering his 10th season, he has never posted a career grade below 70, including his 77.2 mark last year. Pitts, who hasn't had a true takeover type of season we know he's capable of yet, earned the last spot. Talent-wise, it's still all there for him to shine in 2023. All right, so let me talk about these 3 players. Number 1, Lindstrom, no-brainer. Lindstrom is the best player on the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I know he's not your favorite, but Lindstrom is the best player that the Atlanta Falcons have. Second team All-Pro this past season, got the big contract extension. There's no doubt he's the best player on this football team. And he plays a premium position where he is an interior offensive lineman. I know it's not as glamorous as, tackle or defensive end or things like that, but if you have a great guard, again, if you have Larry Allen or John Hanna, you're going to win a lot of football games. So Lindstrom, no problem. Jake Matthews, I'll give you several players that I think are better than Jake Matthews. I think Pitts is a better player than Jake Matthews is at this point because of the upside. I think that their running backs could develop into better quality players and more impactful players than what Jake Matthews is at this point. We have to have Arnold Ebiketie try to become that kind of player, but Grady Jarrett's another guy, So I like Jake. I think Jake's a really good football player. Jake's been a better football player than what the Atlanta folks have given him credit for. He's been a very solid, for a lot of his career. He was a top half tackle in the NFL. Again, is he Jonathan Ogden or somebody like that? No, he's not, Orlando Pace or somebody, but he's been really solid. He's been able to anchor our offensive line for a decade now, right? I mean, so I got no problem with Jake Matthews. I don't think Jake Matthews is one of the 3 best players on the team. Kyle Pitts is one of these guys that Pro Football Focus is enamored with. Yes, I understand the talent, okay? And this will be the telltale year. We've gone through this whole exercise here about the idea of what Kyle Pitts is, and this has to be the year. Again, when you're drafted 4th overall, there is an expectation about being a game-changing player. Kyle Pitts has not been a game-changing player. You can argue with me all day long. He's not influenced the game enough. We have 20 losses in the 2 years that he's been here. How much influence has there been from a Kyle Pitts? And again, I understand it's not all his fault, but at the same point, when you're picked that high and you're the unicorn and all of these things come with attachments to it, things have to start to turn the corner very quickly. And I still think that, for him to have an impact and for us to win a bunch of games, he's got to be Travis Kelce. 100 catches, 1,400 yards, dozen times. That's what we have to see on the stat sheet. Well, he impacts the game by blocking and all that. Blocking? Yeah. Look, I think A.J. Terrell, even maybe Jesse Bates, Grady Jarrett, those are all better candidates to be the Falcons' 2nd, 3rd best players on this roster. Lindstrom's the best player on this team. But still, Grady Jarrett's an impactful player coming off a 7-sack season. You know, for an interior defensive lineman, 7 sacks is a big time number. You know, again, there aren't a whole lot of guys that come in the, in the league running around right now that are double-digit sack guys as interior guys. So Grady having 7 sacks and the way he impacts a game, certainly, I think he's one of the 3 best players, even at his age of 30. And, we just talked about this yesterday about, they said, well, maybe at 30 years old, his best days are behind him. Yeah, but he's still got a lot of football left in him. I don't think he's over the hill or anything like that. And I know that Kyle Pitts and the potential is there, but it hasn't been a delivery of goods yet. Look, A.J. Terrell has been one of the better corners, and he's in line to get a massive extension. He's been one of the better corners in the NFL over the last couple of years. Yes, he had a down season last year compared to what he was 2 years ago, but he did perform at a high level. And 2 years ago, he wasn't a Pro Bowl player, and he was, I think, a second-team All-Pro. Like, again, he's had accomplishments in the NFL and accolades to go along with them. He's been a top-tier type of talent. But again, a lot of it is on potential. Again, that P word, right? Potential for Kyle Pitts, potential for Arnold Ebiketie. I want to see a fire breather. We talked about Arnold Ebiketie yesterday. I want to see a fire breather become one of my 3 best players. I want to see a guy coming off the edge that destroys quarterbacks, that is a guy who just abuses tackles, and he's the guy that's one of our 3 best players, because that's how we transform the football game. So, in all honesty, if I asked right now, if you asked me this question, who's the 3 best players on the Atlanta Falcons? Lindstrom, no problem with. A.J. Terrell and Grady Jarrett. I think that's our 3 best, most impactful players that we have. We have a lot of potential candidates, right? Like this conversation a year from now could be fascinating. It could be Pitts, could be London, could be Jeff Okudah, could be Jesse Bates, could be Caden Ellis or Onyemata. Again, this discussion in a year from now has the potential to be very interesting about, well, I don't know if we can narrow it down to 3, but I still think that Lindstrom, Grady, A.J. Terrell, that is our 3 best players. With all due respect to Jake Matthews, with all due respect to Kyle Pitts, again, I think that those other 2 guys are better players and more impactful players for this team than what, Jake Matthews and Kyle Pitts are at this very moment. Not that either guy is bad. I'm not hating on any of these guys. But again, it's all about the P word, potential. And we've got to see that. I haven't seen that, enough from Kyle Pitts. A play here and a play there isn't, enough. It's got to be, again, the health and a whole bunch of touchdowns. And that's how you impact the football game, right? So I'll give Lindstrom his nod, his due. He's the best player on this football team, but I think A.J. Terrell and Grady Jarrett are the 2nd and 3rd best players on this team. All right, as you make Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen, make sure you go in and leave us a comment that you're an everyday listener to the program. So whatever platform that you're on, go in the comment section and let us know that you're an everydayer, as we like to say. You're listening in 5 days a week. We really appreciate the fact that you are here with us every single day, Monday through Friday, being a part of our ever-growing community. So we thank you so much for being a part of the show, and let us know that you're an everydayer, an everyday listener to the program.